Hello from London, dear language learners. Well, who'd have thought we'd be in this extraordinary situation? Things are moving so fast since I last spoke to you. I'm a day late with the Tuesday video. As you can imagine, there's quite a lot of upheaval here in London with the coronavirus crisis, and I'm sure that's the case where you are too. So yesterday was actually my first day of working from home, permanently now for the time being at least. The company I work at a law firm, have instituted this regime for all colleagues actually. So yesterday I just went in to pick up some documents. Today I was trying to get the IT to work, connect my laptop from work up with the printer. And yes, it's been a lot of practicalities today. When I was going through the centre of Brixton, the part of London I work in, there were quite a lot of people walking around still going about their business. They haven't heeded the warnings of the UK government here that people should keep their time going out of the house down to a minimum, just to necessary trips. And there were people in cafes actually, and in places like McDonald's. And that's a bit worrying actually, and I think there will be stricter measures coming out in the UK probably towards the end of this week, in the same way as happened in France, because people weren't taking the warnings seriously. I wonder what's happening where you are, and I hope that you are keeping safe. Now, in this difficult situation, you could be worrying about all sorts of things: your income streams, your business, keeping your job. You could be under huge new pressure in your job. You may have someone who among your loved ones or your friend circle who is ill with the virus. And my thoughts are with you if that is the case. If you're hunkering down though, and you're trying to keep going with your life as much as is possible, and I think we'll all be doing that so far as circumstances allow, then it's worth talking about what this means for our language learning too. I don't think that's trivializing the situation. It may be that many of us holed up inside for quite a long time, and so it does make sense, I think, to start to think about how we're going to use that time. So, there's a lot of downsides, I think, obviously, apart from the general disruption if you're learning a language already. The classes that you do or the meetups that you go to might have been cancelled or postponed indefinitely. I was going to go to the Polyglot cruise from Barcelona in April. I was really looking forward to that event. That has been postponed for a whole year. I wasn't doing any physical language classes at the moment, so I didn't have that disruption. So as well as that disruption, of course, you may find you've got less time actually now for language learning because your children might be at home, or your job may have become more intense if you're stacking shelves in a supermarket, or if you're in the medical sector, for example. Obviously, that's going to be the case. So if you haven't started your language at all yet as well, in this time of great upheaval, it might seem that, you've got enough worries without starting something new. But there are upsides too, I think. Many of you will have more time than before. So you might be a student, you might find that your lessons have suddenly been cancelled, or you're working reduced hours if you're in a job. Even if your job and your hours have remained the same, if you're working from home, then you may find that you've lost the commute. You're not losing time traveling to work anymore. You may find you're able to get your work done more efficiently because there are fewer distractions at home than in the office. So that might give you a bit of extra time actually. You may also find that your priorities have shifted a bit and you're sort of feeling, well, now is the time really to do something that I've been putting off, because life is a whole lot more fragile than we sometimes like to think. And so you may have sort of reprioritized. And the time management experts always say, don't they, that when you say I haven't got time, it really means this is not a priority. So the upside might be that you're reevaluating what's important to you in your life. So, you may be going to continue with a language or starting a new language. So I would say if that's you, then habit is going to be the key, I think, particularly if you're working from home for the first time. And this is going to be true with your paid duties as well, I think. Some sort of structure to your day can really help. And that's always the approach I've taken with language learning. So I always stress, having a regular slot for focused study, with course materials or intensive reading or listening, And I still find the morning the best for that. My routine has always been to try and do half an hour. At the moment it's with my Japanese, alternating with Basque, or sometimes doing half an hour of both, often in normal times before I go for a run, that sort of thing. But it needs to be a time when you can cut out other distractions, so switch off that phone and make sure that people aren't sort of knocking on your door, coming in. If you do have your own working space that you can use, again, that might be more difficult if you've got children around more, which will be an argument, you know, to get a really demarcated slot for trying to do it in the morning. Now, as well as firming up or establishing a new habit, you may need to re-anchor disrupted habits. So I use my flashcards for Japanese on the commute to work, for example, and that particular special time has gone now. So if I'm not careful, as I found when I was off for a whole month last summer and busy on How to Get Fluent and with my Basque and Japanese from home, that flashcarding time didn't really get replaced. So again, I need to re-anchor that habit some way into my day, the new shape of my day, I think. If you have got an existing habit running and you've got a bit more time, what you could do is expand the existing slot. So I could move up from 30 minutes to 45 minutes Japanese, for example, in the morning. Or I could go for what I always call the satellite slot, which is a shorter time of consolidation, looking ahead, maybe preparing the ground for the work I'm going to work on the following day in the evening. So 15 or 20 minutes additional in the evening, for example, perhaps after the kids have gone to bed. So those are things you can do if you're into, like I am, having the focused study slots as a core part of your language learning. And that's a really effective way to move forward, I think. But I know that particularly extroverts, you know, we all, but particularly the extroverts want some human contact too. If you've been doing language classes and they've been disrupted, maybe this is the time when you're stuck at home to start taking lessons online, one-to-one with a teacher, using a platform like italki.com, which is one that I use, and I'll put my link for that underneath this video, or another online platform. Now, if that's expensive for you, you could maybe, you know, if your group class, physical class has been disrupted, try and organize group lessons online using Hangouts or something with your teacher. Informally, you may help them if their income has been disrupted by trying to get a group of the people from the class together to arrange that sort of thing, perhaps informally. I've done a series of videos on how to get the most out of working one-to-one online with a teacher. So if that's something you're going to be doing at this time for the first time or doing more of, do check those out, and I'll put the playlist for that at the end of this video. Now, if you can't afford a one-to-one teacher or group classes, this could be the time to find a language partner, a tandem partner, as we say, which again you can do through a site like italki, where you would do half an hour speaking English or any other language that you can offer in exchange for half an hour's conversation with the tandem partner. And the key to that, I think, is to agree on topics to discuss beforehand, otherwise you're going to run out of things to say once you've got over the first couple of sessions of, you know, who are you and that sort of thing. And to be really strict that it's half and half, so if it's an hour, 30 minutes in your target language and 30 minutes with you speaking in English or whatever language you're offering. Now, to stick with speaking, one thing you could do is the old idea of recording yourself speaking every day for a month, for example, using audio only or video. Even if you never share that, it might be a way to keep a diary, perhaps, of these extraordinary times in your target language, and to see how you, if you are doing more study, improve over that monthly period. Maybe it would just be a weekly recording if you have less time. If you've got time to read now, this could be a great time to get into a hobby or an interest that you already have, or something you've long wanted to find out more about through your target language. Either trying to find simplified materials, perhaps aimed at children, or if you're already upper intermediate or advanced, native materials, of course. Yeah, the crisis could be just the time to stop putting off finding out all about the history of pottery, or learning to code or whatever it is. Things you might be able to do online through your target language. It could be finding out about gardening or the history of a particular art form or something like that. And you may find you can get into discussion communities around this interest, for example, using a Facebook study group or some other sort of online forum. That might even lead to you setting up a language exchange or a tandem with somebody who has a shared interest, and then you'll definitely have something to talk about. Discussing a common passion is a great way to form a strong bond with a language partner. Otherwise, you can just talk about your new interest with a regular tandem partner or with your teacher, your one-to-one teacher. Now, for writing practice, you could actually write a diary of these extraordinary events. I've already suggested doing that by recording your voice, but there's no reason you couldn't write about them too. Or if that's the last thing that you want to do, focus on something completely different and start to write a few lines or some sort of small piece, even if it's only, say, 100 words each day in your language. And that, again, would give you something that you could have corrected and you could work with a teacher on if you're going to want to do that. So there's some ideas for focus practice on the writing, the reading, and speaking. And extensive input, whether it's reading or listening, is so important for consolidating what we've already learned and acquiring more language. So this is going to be a prime time for those of you who do have more hours in the day suddenly on your hands for some extensive reading. That's to say, reading for pleasure of materials that aren't too difficult for you. So they may be aimed at learners, some sort of graded reading or native level if you're already an upper, intermediate and advanced student, or lots of listening to podcasts, audiobooks, binging out on films and YouTube in your target language. That would be a great thing to do, rather than just vegging out in English, as it were, with the films and on YouTube and so on. You could combine that, again, if you're into focus study, with a drive to expand your vocabulary in areas which match up the sort of materials that you're reading about or focusing on, watching. If you've already got friends in the language, this would be a great time, I think, to just send them a quick mail, quick message to say, hi, how are you doing? Maybe to have a Skype call or use WhatsApp, for example. That's a great way to keep in touch. I keep in touch with some of my German friends, every so often. Now would certainly be a time to say, thinking about you, how are things in your country? What's going on with you at the moment? So I think there's lots that we can be doing so far as our disrupted schedules and health of our loved ones allows. Those are my ideas. What's going on where you are? What are your thoughts at this stage? Do let me know in the comments below. Now, this video is a day late, and the next video I think will be out on Friday, also a day late this week. And I want to turn and talk, things are moving so fast, so this might not be how it works out, but I wanted to talk a little bit at some stage about what the schedule is going to be on this channel in the coming months, because that's something I wanted to discuss anyway, aside from the coronavirus situation. I've also got some great vlogs coming up, another one from the Polyglot Conference for a start, and then from London's Language Show, and from the language event in Edinburgh. I wrote a review of that actually on howtogetfluent.com. That's the most recent blog post there, but there's a lot of editing that I have to do as well of things that will be coming up. But I will talk about that either in the next video or the next video, but one, I think, looking ahead to what's coming up on the channel and how the schedule is going to be going forward in 2020. And of course, I want to update you on my Japanese project as well. But that was it for today. Thanks as always for being with me. Do share your thoughts on the situation, life and language learning in the comments below. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already, to subscribe for the vibe, throw me a thumbs up, tickle that bell and share or be square. See you soon and stay safe.